Okay, so in this lesson we're going to be covering the different continents within the world and the different oceans within the world. Okay? Let's start with the oceans. We're going to start with the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean does meet with the Atlantic Ocean in some parts, such as right here around the Devil's Hook, I think it's called, or the Bell Hook, can't quite recall. Now, whenever the Pacific Ocean meets the Atlantic Ocean, there is a divide between their different bodies of water and how that water has basically developed. There's a different nature to each ocean I'm about to cover, so let's keep that one in mind. The entire Atlantic Ocean basically covers the territories between the eastern part of the United States and the western part of Europe, western part of Africa, eastern part of South America. And it's right beneath Greenland, so it's going to take up all of this section right here. This is the Atlantic. The Pacific Ocean covers the span between western South America and eastern Australia and the Polynesian Islands, or western United States and eastern China and Russia. That's where the Pacific Ocean is between. The Pacific Ocean is between Russia and the United States, and the Atlantic Ocean is between the United States and Europe. Now, another ocean we're going to cover is the Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean really revolves around Antarctica. It's towards the south, naturally. I think that we don't need to necessarily cover that one too much. The ocean that is above the Southern Ocean, next to or to the west of Australia, is the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean is southern to India. It is in that territory, it's near India. It's between Australia, the Polynesian Islands, and India. So, the next ocean we're going to cover is the Arctic Ocean. The Arctic Ocean is like the Southern Ocean, but it's in the north. So, the Arctic Ocean is practically the Northern Ocean. It's what revolves around the North Pole. And there's 3 points at the North Pole. There's a point in Canada that's part of the North Pole. There's a part in Norway that's part of the North Pole. And there's a part in Greenland, I believe, that's part of the North Pole. And I think maybe this part of Russia is part of the North Pole, but I don't think anything's really been established there. There is a town here that establishes the North Pole. There is another town here that establishes the North Pole, but that's about it. Now, that establishes the North Pole and the oceans. So the Arctic Ocean is towards the north, Southern Ocean, south, Indian Ocean, India, Pacific Ocean between Russia and the United States, and then the Atlantic Ocean is between Europe and the United States. Now we're going to be capturing the continents. So, the first continent we're going to be covering is North America. North America is covered between Canada, the United States, Mexico, all the way down to Panama. So Panama, Honduras, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Jamaica, Cuba, Puerto Rico, although Puerto Rico is part of the United States, the Dominican Republic, all of that is captured in North America. That is all North America. The Caribbean, Central America, and Canada and the United States are all North America. South America starts at Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, all the way down to Argentina and Chile. This entire body of land is South America. This entire body of land is North America. So from Canada to Panama is North America. And from Colombia to Chile is South America. Next we have Africa. Africa is the biggest continent in the in the world, and It's captured from North Africa, which is Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, down to South Africa, including South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Madagascar. So, this entire body is Africa. Towards the north, you'll find more Arabic influence. Towards the south, you'll find more sub-Saharan influence. And then when you pull over into the Middle East, this is actually Asia. This territory is actually Asia. So, Asia starts from about Palestine. Palestine opens up into Egypt. Not a coincidence. So, we have the territory of Palestine all the way up to Turkey, which basically starts the mouth between Europe and Africa, is between Turkey and Palestine. Turkey and Palestine are kind of like the land bridges between the two different continents of Europe and Africa. So between Turkey and Palestine, we open up into Asia. And as we open up into Asia, it's between Turkey, Palestine, and then China. China's basically, rather Japan. Japan's the end of Asia. Japan is the end, or rather no, the Koreas is the end of the Asian landmass, or the Asian mainland, and then it's Japan, who's the end of actual Asia, geographically. And then we have Europe. Europe starts here at Portugal, or Ireland, or Iceland, or Greenland, depending on where you decide to kind of put your marker. And it goes all the way through into Russia. Russia's the end of Europe, although Russia's more like Eurasian. There's a lot of southern areas in Russia that are very Asian looking, and then there's a lot of parts in northern and western Russia that looks very European, so it's kind of like Eurasian. So, to recap, we have North America. We have North America, which is from Canada to Panama. We have South America, which is from Colombia to Chile. We have Africa, which is from Morocco, Algeria, Libya, and Egypt, all the way down to South Africa. We have Europe, which is from Portugal, Ireland, all the way through to Russia. And then we have Africa, which is from, or rather, we have Asia, which is from Turkey and Palestine, all the way through to China and Japan. Now, the different natures of these continents vary based off of the cultures within them. So, for example, the South American culture tends to be slightly different from country to country, but it typically kind of maintains the same kind of language, religion, a very kind of basic sense of identity, just with different cultural stamps, including food, different cuisines, different attire. So that's kind of the differences between these countries. Argentina has some very beautiful architecture within it, and Brazil is also a very interesting country with very interesting history. Now, the nature of North America is very split. We have Canada, which is a monarchist country still, but it's under a parliamentary monarchy under the governorship of the Queen. So this kind of has a different nature to it than the United States. This one has been more readily accepting of socialism and has bared the consequences of it. United States is very independent, very rebellious, very its own kind of country. But by that nature, it's also kind of self-imploded, with a lot of its citizens also deciding to rebel against the current flow to advancedly stupid degrees. Now, we go down to the Central American countries between Panama and Mexico, and minus El Salvador, which has done some very common sense, very good place policies, we're seeing a lot of negativity going on in Central America that we will not be getting into. Minus El Salvador. El Salvador basically imprisoned all of its criminals, didn't give them a single chance, didn't negotiate with any of them, didn't negotiate with any bigger organizations, imprisoned them all. Now they're facing human rights violations, but whose rights are being violated if not the good citizens of El Salvador, who basically had to constantly live with the dredges that kept making other people's lives much harder on purpose? Like, human rights only apply to those who are willing to be pro-social, not anti-social, defined by divine and natural laws. So, the next continent or nature that we're going to discuss is Africa's nature. Africa is also very varied. South Africa, for example, and Rhodesia were very interesting territories. They had a lot of architecture and industry built into it that were quite lovely. Likewise, the territories of Morocco, Algeria, Libya, and Egypt are also very historically rich, very beautiful. Here in the center, where we have the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where's he? Anything that basically says the Republic or the Democratic Republic of Congo or whatever, you know that those countries are very, very corrupt within Africa. That typically is the pattern. Ethiopia is the birthplace of, I think Ethiopia is basically the first nation that accepted Christianity as a Christian nation, I believe. That's their reputation. Let's see. India. We move on to the Asias now. We have the Middle East, which is kind of similar to having the same kind of language, the same religion, give or take, in this area. And then as we go deeper into the Asias, we start to see a lot of mixing of different cultures, languages, religions, such as the Hindu India, the Confucius or Communist China, or the capitalist Japan, likewise the Communist North Korea, and the capitalist South Korea, and then the Polynesian Islands, which basically, I think I'm under the impression that the Polynesians typically are more Christian. So yeah. Then we also have Australia, which is part of its own continent. It's called Oceania, or Oceania. It's part of Australia, New Zealand, and I think Papua New Guinea? No, Papua New Guinea's in Africa, I think. And then we have Europe. The nature of Europe is also varied. Different languages, but same religion, give or take. They're becoming more secularized, so the nation is naturally, or the continent is naturally falling. Whenever a continent secularizes, it destroys the continent within, or the nations within. Mostly because then what do you have to coalesce around except for just your own ego, which then drives up people's wills, which then drives up people's self-destruction. From Portugal and Spain, we have Catholicism. All the way through Italy, we have Catholicism. Then we get to the Eastern European territories of Romania, Moldova, Ukraine is more Byzantine Catholic. Bulgaria, Romania, Greece, Russia, which are all Orthodox Christian. And then we get to the more northern territories. France is also more Catholic. Germany's more Protestant, but it can be Catholic. England is more Protestant. Ireland, that's a whole other bag. Norway is more Protestant. Sweden's more Protestant, although now it's more atheist. Finland is more Protestant. So yeah, those are the different natures of the different continents and the different oceans. So I hope you memorized all of that material and can now prepare yourself for the upcoming test. Okay, so I'm going to leave this here with you. Keep practicing it, and I'm going to go take a little tea break.